let's talk about emotional masochism, because this is a term that came to me over the past couple of months because this is the experience I realized I was having. unconsciously, unconsciously for years. And once I was able to bring consciousness to it by using this name and this label, so much liberated for me, ladies, like so much opened up for me that this became a massive key that has allowed me to alchemize situations in such a rapid pace and choose my power and come back to myself so much more easily, and also with like so much levity, so much laughter, so much play, because it's like hilarious to me when I realize that I'm being an emotional masochist. Like, this is not a judgment, this is not a shaming thing. Like, I find this hilarious, and it actually fuels me with so much power when I can understand what experience I'm in, and then I can really liberate it so much more easily. So, what is emotional masochism? And is this playing out in your own life? So, for me, how I'm defining this is masochism is really the state where you get off on pain, right? In a BDSM context, in a relationship context, it's where you get off on pain. So, you consciously play with pain because there's turn on there. So, emotional masochism to me is where I'm experiencing these intense emotional experiences. Usually we could say like suffering experiences, whether it's shame, sadness, grief, anger, frustration. It's all of the quote unquote like negative like emotions, which I wouldn't label them negative emotions. However, for the context of this conversation, to make it more easy so you can identify where you might be in an emotional masochist experience, it's going to be the emotions that you typically resist the most. However, for me, it's like I wasn't actually resisting these emotions, which is why I have labeled it emotional masochism. Because as you know, I am someone that believes and teaches feeling your feelings. It is so important that we feel our feelings and we honor the sensations that are live within us. We honor the emotional code of what it's teaching us, because that has not been our history, right? For most of our history, it's been this suppression, this denial, this shaming of our emotions, not feeling them, denying them, making them wrong. And we've really been in the era the past couple of years, as a society especially, of accepting our feelings and really honoring them and being present with them and seeing the value in them, right? That there's always something they're teaching us. And I've discovered a shadow side to this because I found in my own experience, I was like, yeah, I'm feeling my feelings and I'm in it and I'm alchemizing it and this is great. But there became a shadow where I was also addicted to the emotional experience. I was addicted to the emotional process because I was like, oh, this makes me feel so alive. Like, yes, I'm feeling this grief and that's because there's so much love, or, oh, there's anger because I care so much, or whatever the story was. There was a part of me that was validating these intense emotional experiences that a lot of times I was giving my power away to because there was this emotional masochism. And I would say suck in them, and right, I was giving my power away to these experiences. And a lot of times this would also take on the tone, at least for me, of either it was like a righteousness and a superiority, but more often than not, it was a victim within myself. Not even necessarily being a victim in the story of someone else's experience with them, but just holding myself kind of in this victim energy, this disempowered energy of I have no power here. I can't do anything about it. Oh, they don't care about me. Like, whatever the story was, it was really holding myself as less than, in this unworthiness, in this not enoughness kind of state. And I said, no more, no more. I am devoted to my power. This is a game of us knowing our own power, of knowing our own worth, of knowing our own value, of knowing our own creational potentiality and living it, doing it, being it. And so when I recognize this pattern of being addicted to my intense emotions and getting lost in the swampiness of these emotional experiences, which, as I said, I was still alchemizing. Like, I was still alchemizing, and I would still move through this experience quite rapidly. And so what was interesting for me was actually being like, oh, and there's still a space where I'm holding on in ways that are not required for me to alchemize this. There's ways for me to move through this emotional experience in a more powerful way. That's really what it was. There's ways for me to move through this emotional experience in a more powerful way, because it's still so important to feel the sensations in our body, to honor the emotions that are alive, to express our truth when it needs to be shared with someone else. And when are we doing this from a disempowered state? When are we doing this with an ulterior, unconscious agenda? Right? Like I said, this addiction, this addiction to the aliveness, this need to receive more love or attention or validation or whatever it is. Where am I not validating myself? Where am I giving my power away in this situation? And this is something major that changed for me. So I find this to be a really beautiful evolution of the emotional processing journey, of how can I relate to these emotions in a really powerful way? How can I relate to this experience in the most powerful way that I can? Once again, it's not denying the emotions. It's not denying the truth of what's happening. It is, however, choosing to relate to it from a different realm of consciousness. And that changes your perception. That changes your experience. That changes the game. That changes the game. It makes it so much more fun. So much more fun. So much more liberating. So much more powerful. So, the first thing that I want you to recognize here is to keep feeling your feelings. Yes, of course. Like, keep tuning into them and honoring, because I know that is a muscle in and of itself. The second layer of this is if you've really been in that journey and you still feel like sometimes you're getting stuck in these emotions, or you're wanting to alchemize them with love and power even more rapidly, right? To have a quicker integration and embodiment time, because that's what we're doing. We're speeding up time. Something that took you a month to integrate and process can now take you a week or a day or an afternoon or 10 minutes. And it can still be fully honored in those 10 minutes. And this is where you get so much of your life force, so much of your power back to then continue engaging with life and creating and playing and having fun and loving with an open heart. So the second piece, the second question is, what's a more powerful way to relate to this experience, this situation, this emotion? Am I being stuck in this? And I noticed, oh, this is the emotional masochist. Like I said, the label for me in and of itself typically is the key that allows the alchemy to happen in those 10 minutes, let's say. Like, oh, okay, I'm in this pattern. I'm in the emotional masochist. Okay, I laugh, and it actually just that's all that's really needed, which is fascinating. Like, it gets to be so easy and so quick. And sometimes these patterns, right, some of them are so deeply ingrained, especially when they're attached, like I said, to our worthiness, to our enoughness, to our validation. So you can meet this pattern 100 times. But if you do this 101, you're still doing it. Like with meditation, right? And it softens every time. It becomes less and less. So some things are so easy to move through. Like, let's say you're an emotional masochist, for yelling in traffic and road rage. And right, that you can alchemize so quickly. But there are ones where, right, it's a heartbreak. It's something with your partner. It's something about money that are just so deeply enmeshed in our belief system that it can be harder to separate ourselves from them and to have more levity, laughter, ease around them. That you keep revisiting those. But each time you revisit it, it gets softer. Know that. It gets softer and the path changes, because you are building a new neural path. And that's why bringing in this emotional masochism also makes it so much easier to build a new pathway, because you're doing it through play. And play builds new pathways 400 times faster than just straight up repetition. It's the classic, oh, it takes 3 weeks to build a new habit. Well, if you do it through play, it can happen in 3 days, okay? Or even faster. We don't even need to put a time label on it. But just so you have some context of what I mean by how much faster things change through play and how quickly the neural pathways build through play. 400 times faster. It can be so much easier, which is why I do this emotional masochist method. Well, it's not why, but I can see that in hindsight, why this method works so well. Okay, so the game for today is to notice in your own life, where are you being an emotional masochist? With so much just like curiosity, play, and softness in that, and start to witness it. Because when you start to witness it, and when you can consciously label it in the moment, and you bring consciousness to it, you bring this presence to it, I promise you it is going to shift so much faster. And you're going to take back your power. Because in that emotional masochism, when it's unconscious, you are hemorrhaging. You are losing your life force. You are losing your power. It is just draining out of you. But when you witness it, when you bring consciousness to it, it's not even just putting a Band-Aid on it. It is putting stitches and rebuilding or a cast or something that allows it to actually heal. Not just a Band-Aid, not so the wound can reopen again. It's allowing it to actually heal fully. Because what I want you all to do is to become addicted to your own power. To become addicted to your own power, because so many of us are addicted to our powerlessness. This will be a transmission for another day, because this is what I noticed in myself within this exploration of the emotional masochist, how addicted I was to my own powerlessness. And when I start tuning into my own power, oh wow, that feels so fucking amazing. And all the stories that I had, because you might have this, right? Why are we addicted to the fear of our power? Or why are we addicted to our powerlessness? Because we fear our power. Oh, I'm going to be judged, or I won't be loved anymore, or I'm going to be, shunned from society kind of thing. Like, right, there's all these stories, right? Fear of our success, fear of our power. Well, I noticed once I was actually authentically and genuinely in my power, there was no fear. It was so pure. It was so innocent. It was so rightful. I realized that me being in my power was also giving other people more power. It's not taking away from anyone else. It's not seeing anyone smaller. It's seeing everyone bigger. And no one can harm me when I'm in my power. There's nothing anyone can say to me that diminishes me when I'm in my power, because I'm in my power and I know who I am. And no one's words, no one's external validation, or no one's external judgment can impact me when I'm in my power. So all those fears don't even matter when you're actually in your power. And once I realized that, I was like, whoa, oh my God. Like, what? I can't believe I was so scared of this for so long. So I want you to become addicted to your own power, because once you get a felt sense of this, even for a moment, and you recognize this and you have that insight of truth, that breakthrough moment, the journey is then really the journey of your power. And having fun with that. And I have some fun practices to support that. It's the energetic cock practice. We'll get into that in another day. As you see, so much to share. And so my intention is to keep this focused and clear as much as I can with my nonlinear brain. So today, notice, where are you being an emotional masochist? And just label it and see what softens for you from that space. Let me know how that feels for you. Let me know if you can tap into more of your power, because that's what I want for all of you. That's what we're all here to do together. Courage, power, truth, love, devotion, play. Yes, yes, yes. I'm wishing you a magical day. Not even rhymed. How divine.